Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling.
Welcome, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this December 1st, 2021, 10:07 on the clock. And you have your host, James J. Malouf here, and we are joined by our good friends from the Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have Sheriff Shawn Becker with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Always a pleasure.
How you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing good. Thanks for being here today. And we have detective or lieutenant?
Actually, Chief Deputy.
It's Chief Deputy. Man,
Quentin Ellis.
I'm going to get a fine for that.
No, you're good. You're good, James.
Good to have you here, sir. Good to have you here, sir. Very good to have
associates.
Oh, you guys let me skate by too much on that stuff. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah.
And of course, Kevin, our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media are here. Good morning to them and appreciate them being here. I would like to start off with giving our condolences and our thanks, really, to Master Trooper Daniel Stainbrook. Am I saying that right, Stainbrook?
Yeah, you are. Tragedy. He passed away from complications of COVID. Daniel's a local. He's from Wisconsin Rapids, graduated from Lincoln High School in 97. From there, he found the calling for law enforcement, and he stayed local, went to Mid-State Technical College, graduated with his associate degree in police science, and then the State Patrol gave him the opportunity for his career. And, he spent 20 years as a trooper, a master trooper, earning that status. He was an instructor. He taught vehicle contacts and firearms. Avid hunter and fisherman, outdoorsman, just something that's going to be missed. It was tough. Going to law enforcement funerals are always hard, and here you got somebody that's local. Went to Lincoln High School, like I said, and went to Mid-State Technical College that we have a strong connection with. It's just it's a tough time right now. Our thoughts and prayers are out with his family. He's got 2 daughters and a wife who also graduated from Lincoln High School with him. And it's a hard time right now. We're thinking about him and his family. I really want to, call out Lincoln High School the day that we got involved in escorting him back from UW-Madison Hospital. And we made one phone call, or a couple of them, to Craig Bourne, the superintendent, and Ron Rasmussen, the principal at Lincoln High School, and said, "Hey, we're going to be going right by Lincoln High School with the procession and the escort to the funeral home. Is there a chance that maybe some of the students can come out to pay their respects?" Since he, like I said, he went to Lincoln, and they did, and that was extremely humbling to be part of. To see, most of the student body out in front of the school, just paying respects to alumni, and that was hard, but it was, it was very humbling, in just tough circumstances. But again, I really appreciate, you giving us the opportunity to talk about him, because the law enforcement community is hurting right now. This was a tough situation.
And I can't speak for everybody, but I will say that I think the majority of our community, when you guys are hurting, we are. We're a family. And I know that I did not know Mr. Stainbrook, but I saw a great report on it that they did on Channel 9 about him in the event yesterday. And it moved me, got me a lot. And I'm a big believer, and I think a lot of us are, in silver linings. And there, it's pretty dang hard to find one in a situation like this. I will say, seeing all the different law enforcement agents that were there, the representation that was there, not just from obviously the troopers, but you guys, the sheriff's department, and different police facilities throughout the whole state were there. That to me it speaks to the strength and the beauty of our communities, the beauty of what you guys do, and the fact of the lowering of the flag and all these different things. Hopefully they remind us of how important it is to have law enforcement and how thankful we are for having good law enforcement and good people in these jobs. When I say thank you to him and his family, it's because you guys know this way better than I do. You guys are out there alone maybe, but you're not alone. Your family you carry with you, they're waiting for you at home. They're wondering when you're going to be home and things like that. So for his family too, thank you to them, and just appreciate his service so very much. I'm thinking of his friends and his family, thinking of you guys.
Yeah.
Thankful for what he's given us.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that I know. Quentin went to high school with him, so there's a lot of contacts that, a lot of people knew him. And it's it's hard. He worked in the area.
Yeah.
He worked in Washera County, so it's not very far away. So it's just a hard situation for all of us to move forward with. But I appreciate the kind comments about law enforcement and our team.
And it also, I think, again, looking for silver linings, I think for some people, they may not realize how much troopers do and the work that they do. And just hearing some of the things that he was doing, and not to say that it's part of the job, but things that he was doing as far as, a young officer, and he's training people on things and stuff. That speaks very highly to what he was doing, his credit to his career.
Trained officer, so, new troopers coming out of the academy. He was one person that was also training our new, troopers that, get assigned throughout the state. So obviously the State Patrol thought very highly of him to have that role of being that mentor for new law enforcement officers coming out of an academy.
And unfortunately, we have someone else we want to mention too.
Sure. Yeah, recently David Buboltz passed away. He's a retired police chief from Port Edwards. Strong local ties to the community. Had a great career in his law enforcement career as the police chief, but also has ties to our department as well. His grandson, Justice Arndt, one of our canine deputies, that's his grandpa. And recently, before David passed, or Chief Buboltz passed, he donated quite a bit of money to our canine unit in honor of justice and in our department. So had a great life. It's still tough to see somebody go. Yeah. We had our honor guard at the funeral, and just really our thoughts and prayers are out to the Buboltz family, Justice, his mother, Kathy Elft, who works for the Wood County Health Department. We're grieving with you as well.
Agreed. And thank you for sharing that with us too. And appreciate his service. Appreciate everything he's done. So there is no segue from these kind of subjects or anything, and I'm not going to help things by going into another heavy topic here, but I want to get this sort of pull the Band-Aid off kind of thing, because I've mentioned this. We had the Family Center on with us recently, and I was talking with our good friend Sue about this, and I will preface this next conversation with, I am on the board at the Family Center. There are few causes that are more important to me than ending domestic violence. Recently saw a special report that John Stewart did about this subject. And what I want to talk about is the act of, when you commit a domestic violence act, it is a federal law, and I'm looking at it right here, number 1117, restrictions on possession of firearms by individuals convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. This is a federal law, but it is on counties and individual cities of how they obtain that. And there are certain areas that are more lax on it than others. As we dive into this, I would like to know how we handle it here in Wood County, and just kind of touching on that a little bit to give the locals what that is, and kind of just where you guys come at on this, because it's a gray area subject for some people. Now, just to give you some stats on this, domestic dispute calls made up 41% of fatal calls for police departments. And that is from the Department of Justice from going back to 2016 to 2020. That's 41% of officers that we're losing because of domestic violence acts, because of these things happening. 60% of mass shootings are an act of domestic violence or committed by domestic violence abusers. That's from Bloomberg News analysts. That goes from 2014 to 2020. And the one that I have a hard time reading, every 14 hours, an American woman is shot dead by an intimate partner. That's from Gifford Law Center, and that's a 2020 stat going into 2021. That's up to date. Yeah. This stuff goes on obviously way too much. And again, you guys know this way better than I do. I don't like the idea of people telling people how to do their jobs or anything, so please understand that's not at all what I'm doing here. I just realized that might come across that way. I'm not doing that. But this is something that, I read up on some southern counties, and not southern Wisconsin counties, in the South, where they are a little more lax about this. And it's a little more, to lack of a better term, old boy kind of thing, where, I went to high school with him, I know he's a good guy. And more times than not, that good guy ends up doing something with that firearm that he was able to keep when he was not able to. I wanted to get the audience's feedback on this, so I've talked to some listeners about it. And the first thing that comes up is, well, I shouldn't have my right of hunting taken away because of a domestic violence thing. And I counter that with, you shouldn't be committing domestic violence.
Right.
You shouldn't be doing that. There's a very good line in the sand here. Right. And again, I'm not an avid hunter. I know hunting. All my best friends are hunters. I know it pretty well. But to me, hunting is not a birthright. It's a privilege. It's a sport, hobby kind of thing that you get to do as a privilege, as an American, and all that. I do not want to take away people's guns. I am not against the Second Amendment or anything like that. I understand why people own firearms. I don't understand why somebody needs to own an AK-47, but I understand why somebody would want to own a firearm. That I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but I do think that we have laws for a reason. We have a checks and balance for a reason, and if we're not upholding those, what are we doing here? I mean, you can't talk out of one side of your mouth saying domestic violence is bad, and on the other side saying, but they should still be able to hunt. I don't feel like there's a gray area here. I feel like this is pretty black and white. How does our county handle this, Sheriff Becker, and how do you guys feel about this subject?
Well, getting back to the stats that you read, a couple minutes ago, they're staggering. It's real. Those are real statistics that, are out there. And unfortunately, in Wood County, that we do respond to a fair amount of domestic violence calls, and they're very stressful to deal with. You're dealing with people that, once we get that call, we're on alert, because we've lost so many officers in this country that have responded to those situations, because people are very upset when we get there, whatever situation that they were in at the time that somebody called, whether it's the victim or a neighbor or a child. We're going there, and it's a call that we frequently need backup, because it's very volatile. People are irrational at that moment, could be intoxicated or under the influence, and just not thinking clearly. And it heightens our awareness for our own officer safety, because we've lost way too many of our people responding to those calls. So, and there's a process or procedures and state statutes that we have to follow. Mm-hmm. So if we do investigate a domestic violence call, it's a must arrest situation if probable cause exists that a crime was committed. Mm-hmm. So we have to go make sure the scene is safe first, and then start the investigation, separate the people that are involved, and then determine what happened, try to calm things down. And then if probable cause exists that a crime was committed, whether it's a disorderly conduct, a battery, or something else, we have to arrest the predominant aggressor. We don't have a choice, and from there, that person is taken to jail. And then, some other things come into play at that point, where we notify the family center who the victim is. And that's a huge asset to this community. Mm-hmm. Right? It is a huge asset. I'm very proud to say, James, that you're on the board. And thank you for your service. I know Quentin was on the board previously. And those are things, having community members part of that really is an eye-opener. And I can see that by just talking with you. This is passionate for you, and it's passionate for law enforcement. Yes. If we could end domestic violence right now, that'd be great. But you're also right. Laws are laws, and there's a reason why people can't have their firearms if they're convicted with a domestic violence enhancer on those charges that I mentioned. Now, and Quentin can go into what that means for the sheriff's department, because once a judge orders that all firearms are going to be turned in, they're turned into us.
That is something that we started dealing more and more with 5, 6, 7 years ago, with injunctions and the order of firearms surrendered. A lot of them are out of domestic violence situations. So we had to establish a plan on how we're going to do this. We hold on to a lot of firearms that are court-ordered surrendered as a result of domestic violence restraining orders and convictions. We have a zero tolerance for it, based a lot on the stats that you provided, James, and that's not maybe not in Wood County to that level. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it is a real issue in Wood County. And as Sheriff Becker had said, we share your passion for ending domestic violence at the Sheriff's Department. We want to keep everybody safe. You mentioned before silver linings. I would say out of this whole scenario, you mentioned one for us, and that's that we have the Family Center and Sue Sipple as the executive director there. Having gotten to work with her over the years, she's an outstanding asset to our community in our fight against domestic violence. With her direction and prodding, we also implemented the lethality assessment program or protocol at the Sheriff's Department, in which, like Shawn had mentioned, we get victims in contact with the family center. Sometimes they're reluctant to. This lethality assessment screening that our officers can conduct kind of takes that guesswork out. We ask a series of 11 questions. They're scored based on a study done out in Maryland that is a predictor for domestic homicide. And if they score, they answer any of the first couple questions with an affirmative response or a number of combination of the others, we don't give them the choice. We call the family center and say, we have them on the line if you want to speak to them. That gets them connected with resources sooner. It can help them navigate the legal system of being a victim of domestic violence, get them shelter if needed, or other resources. So as Shawn said, we follow the statute to a T. The last thing we want is to have something that could have been prevented not be. Domestic violence is highly volatile. But we do everything we can through that. Our deputies' response, knowledge on the topic, surrendering those firearms or taking those firearms when appropriate, filing appropriate charges, and getting the victim and offender in some cases the resources they need to work through that problem. Because as you may guess, a domestic violence arrest or situation doesn't always terminate the relationship. A lot of times, sometimes they're able to work through those issues and have successful relationship after. Sometimes that cycle keeps going. But the sheriff's department is, one cog in that wheel of making that stop.
And to piggyback off of that, because there's another end of this that I wanted to take it at, and we've touched on this a number of times, what is asked of law enforcement and what shouldn't necessarily be asked of law enforcement, and that could send us down a rabbit hole that we could spend 5 hours on and everything. So I don't want to go too far down that line, but I do think it is noteworthy to say that this is something that nationally has been talked about quite a bit as far as taking that out of your guys' hands, not putting that on your shoulders, and having an actual unit to cover that thing, or people that are trained to deal with domestic violence, whatever the scenario. I don't think it's, I don't know what the perfect answer is. I'm not pretend to be that smart, but I do know that there's something there to that. And I think that this does, while the gun part of this is certainly the key part I wanted to touch on, I do think that the side story of this is going back to what we ask of our law enforcement and the things that we ask of them that really are way outside of their parameter of the things that we originally asked you guys to be doing. And then, hey, by the way, we're going to throw this at you. That feels like another subject for another day, but it does seem to be noteworthy, I think, to what we're talking about here.
That's a great segue to move on to continue to talk about this topic. I think what we're getting at is mental health.
Right.
What's happening before we're called. Can there be some way to avoid a situation that clearly is going to be out of control? Because that's why we're being called there. So I don't know how you take us out of the picture when the call is already made.
Right.
How do you do that? Try to, before a situation arises to that. And you're right, we could talk probably hours about mental health and what's happening with that relationship that brought it to that level, and how could it have been prevented. And that's where, if that relationship, the people that are involved, they're having issues and they reach out, to counselors, whether it's a relationship counselor, a marriage counselor, or their church or something like that. That's, I think, really key. Yes. Because that could avoid the situation that we're talking about, where we have to come in, take control, and then make decisions for them. We prefer not to, but we have to. So I think it really segues back, or comes back to mental health. Now, when we do come in and take control of the situation with, things like the family center involved and the criminal justice system, once, somebody is arrested, those opportunities are out there that can be followed up on with mental health, with counseling for all parties involved, whether it's the person, the arrestee, or the victim, other family members. Those opportunities will be presented or even court ordered. But we'd hate to get to that point. It comes to before that, I think, is what we're talking about, or what you mentioned. Hey, take it out of law enforcement's hands. Well, that's really up to the people that are in that relationship and what they're doing before it got to a point that it's out of control. Then we have to respond.
Man, that's one of the stronger points we're going to make in this conversation. That is well said, sir. It's such a key part of the personal responsibility thing that we kind of come back to almost any subject we're talking about. Of people doing that. making that, if you have issues with your significant other or something like that, getting some therapy, talking to your priest or your church or what have you, reaching out to different people that will listen and be a third party that is not going to be judgmental, like maybe your best friend or something. I'm kidding, but I'm just trying to find a light moment here. I feel like you guys get enough seriousness. You're supposed to come here and have some fun. I apologize, but it is important, and I can't thank you both enough for diving into this with me. Part of the reason I always like to kind of talk to the community about these questions I'm going to bring to different guests, and sometimes they'll look at me and say, "You're really going to ask that?" And I got a little of that with this subject, and I was very proud and very happy to be able to say back, "No, these guys are good. They want me to bring it up. Trust me." The first conversation you and I had, Sheriff, was there's no non-questions. You can ask anything.
Yep.
Which is how I found out your favorite color. Which
You remember that?
We will take a break. We'll take our long break here. We'll come back and we'll go to the top of the hour with our Wood County Sheriff's Department and of course our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media on Morning Magazine, AM 1320 WFHR. It is 36 in Stevens Point, it's 34 in Marshfield, 35 in Wausau, and here in Wisconsin Rapids, where we've got Morning Magazine with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids, Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have Sheriff Shawn Becker with us, and we have darn it, they did it again. Chief Deputy Ellis here with us. You just got to join us more, man, so I get it down.
There you go.
Appreciate you being here, both of you being here, and a big shout out to our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Kevin, the gang over there. Thanks for being here as well. We all woke up this morning to some winter wonderland, and that, of course, got us thinking right away about winter driving. So I thought we could touch on that next.
Yeah. Usually the first snowfall, that accumulates, we're busy. It just seems that, some folks forget that you need to slow down, take extra time to get your destination, because probably the biggest, thing that we'll deal with right during that first, morning commute, if we have a bunch of snow out there, there are many cars in the ditch, some fender benders, and we're busy. And a lot of that just really comes down to slowing down, taking some extra time. The roads are slippery. I know you want to get to your destination, whether it's work or school, and you're late. Well, you're not going to do anybody any good by getting into a crash, or you slide in the ditch and you're stuck there until a tow truck comes out and pulls you out. So probably one of the biggest points that, we can make is, pay attention to the weather. The weather people aren't always right, but if they're predicting some snow, that should tell you to, in the morning or, coming home after work, you're going to notice what's out there. Just take some extra time so you can get to your destination. The other thing I want to bring up is, give the snowplows plenty of distance. By statute, you can't be within 200 feet of them operating, clearing the roads. Be patient, let them do their work. They're there to make the roads safer for us. And we do get a lot of complaints from, our highway shop, where our people are out there doing the best that they can. They put in lots of hours. They're called in at countless times of the night just to make sure that they get the roads cleared and safe. Just give them an opportunity to do their job, because the big picture is that's just to make the roads safer for us. So a huge shout out to, all the cities, within our area and our Wood County Highway Shop that put in the time and dedication to make our roads safe for us to travel on.
Yeah, I've got two quick stories because I thought about that earlier, but I had something else happen. So last year around this time, almost to the date, I was traveling back from being up north. And we had gotten a good snowfall, and it was at night. It's dark. My lights aren't kicking that good, and I've got a plow driver in front of me. So I actually feel kind of good about this because I've got my path paved perfectly, and I'm keeping my distance. And sure enough, and I've heard this story happen plenty of times, but I've never actually seen it. Guys coming by, passes me, and I don't know if it was even a passing lane. The snow was covering everything. But then proceeds to go, because I'm thinking as I'm driving, I'm like, he ain't gonna do. No, he's not gonna. He's got a Wisconsin license plate. See, I'd expect this from somebody in a warmer state, but not a Midwesterner. We know better. Sure enough, this guy tries to pass the plow once, twice, couldn't get around it. Other cars coming from the other lane. Finally tries one last time and gets around it, and thankfully everybody was okay. Yeah. But I saw him about 20 minutes later pulled over. Good. I will never forget that because I've heard these stories, but I actually saw it happening. Yeah. And I could, because for me, as much as I take it seriously, I do come back to, I'll be honest, I come back to, well, these are Midwesterners. These are my people. I mean, we know how to handle this weather. But more times than not, we, even just having a couple seasons in between, we forget, or we think we get ahead of ourselves, or we get cocky. And that's where my second story comes in, because as I'm coming to work today, I usually take the same path. I go past, stop at my folks' house, go through Rosencrantz, and come through the industrial park here to get over. And it's pretty dead that time of the morning and everything. So I, usually have a nice drive to come into work. Today, I'm thinking about our interview, and I'm thinking, oh, we got some snow. We got something to talk about today, that for sure. As I'm thinking that, not even 2 seconds later, I spin. And I have a great Jeep. I've got four-wheel drive. I've got 4 brand new tires on there. And I wasn't speeding, but I was in a hurry. I was running late. So while my vehicle wasn't speeding, my eye in my head was speeding. And I was thinking of other things. I was not focused on what I was doing. There's nobody on the road. Don't got as much to worry about. So I think, oh, I'll be okay. Spun, thankfully, was perfectly fine and just embarrassed, really, with nobody else but God watching. Because I'm sure he had a laugh, and he deserves it. But just as a note that I'm not preaching here, that it can happen to any one of us. And even when you are in tune with the moment, you're literally thinking about winter driving, and it happens right there. Just be smart. Take some time. I'm so glad you mentioned that about the snowplows, because God, the work that they do is just so vitally important to our communities and appreciative. So many of us can't get to work without them. Right. You think about people, especially that have to get to doctor's appointments that are very vital, and it's just so many different scenarios where we don't have that without our plow drivers, and a big shout out to them. Yeah,
and with what you mentioned on the story, you saw somebody that made several attempts to pass the snowplow. That was probably called in by that snowplow operator. So that's something that people should understand, whether or not you have four-wheel drive or not, a pickup truck. Slow down. It's illegal to pass the snowplow, especially during operation. And they probably called that in. And fortunately enough, whether it was one of our deputies or an officer from a different jurisdiction, that person most likely got a well-deserved citation. Mm-hmm. All right? Remember, it's what's revolving around this whole thing that we're talking about is the safety of everybody on the road, not just that driver, but what about everybody else? You know, just slow down, take your time. That's the best advice that we can give right now. And also, when we get those blizzards or a significant snowfall, before the first snowfall, Quentin and I were talking before we came on the radio show, because of the, weather this morning, you should check your vehicle. And you brought up yourself, new tires, make sure that you have adequate tires, because that's something that you're not even know. You might be driving, 5 miles under the speed limit, but if you don't have adequate or illegal tires, it's not going to do you any good. But take a look at, your entire vehicle. Make sure, everything and it is working well, because you never know when you might get stranded. That's happened here in Wisconsin numerous times, where you're stuck wherever it might be. Could even be an interstate. That you might be stuck at, and people aren't going to get to you for a while. Pack an emergency kit. There's a lot of things that you could do to prevent, tragedies. We did a story, one of our good stories of the day the other day that couldn't have turned out that way, but a mother was stuck in her car for like 4 days, and part of the way she survived was having the good winter kit. Mm-hmm. That it came very in handy in that scenario, and hopefully that never happens to any one of you out there. But if just in case, it's always about the in cases. You don't get insurance after you get hurt; you get it before. I mean, have that insurance in your vehicle, have that stuff there just in case. If it takes up some space, it takes up some space. It's well worth it. Right. No, an extra, cell phone charger. There's new flashlights out there that you can charge with your vehicle. There's lots of things that, you can get to just prepare yourself if you get stuck in those kind of situations. Is there anything else about this that you feel we should touch on or let the audience know about? No, I think those are the main points. What do you think? Make sure your windows are clear. Yes. There's nothing worse than when you're driving down the road, fully marked squad car, and you'll see somebody driving through a 3-inch opening because they didn't let their window defrost or scrape it off. Very dangerous. Give it car time to warm up, windows to clear, scrape them off. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. Patience is the game, because you are not going to beat Mother Nature. You are not going to beat Old Man Winter. He wins every time. Undefeated, has a spotless record. He's the Globetrotters of weather. Right. You're not going to beat him. So just take some time, patience. If you got to leave early, if you got to prep a little bit earlier in the morning, whatever you got to do, just make the room for it. You're going to be better off for it, and your community is going to be better off for it. Yeah, no, 100% agree with you.
Where'd you want to go next?
Well, we just hired somebody for a patrol deputy position, Chris Downs. He was working in Clark County, and we hate to steal, other deputies from especially surrounding jurisdictions, but I had a good conversation with their sheriff over there and let him know that he was in our process. Chris is from Wood County, came to us with lots of experience, many years down at Princeton PD, a smaller police department, and then Clark County hired him, and he had probably about 8 months over there. And I talked to Chris and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity for you here. Are you still interested?" He was. And again, I like to at least have the conversation with, at least the surrounding sheriffs. Like, hey, you've got somebody that's a good candidate. I want to give you a heads up that at least prepare that we might hire him. And we did. So we hired Chris. He's originally from the Pittsville area. Like I said, a great candidate. He started on Monday. So he'll be starting his field training by the end of the week. So we're really excited to have him joining our team. We did have a corrections officer resign, Jessica Turch, after 10 years of working with us, and being a corrections officer is tough.
Yeah.
Right? It's a thankless job.
I don't think I could do that for 10 minutes, let alone 10 years. That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish her well, as she moves on into the private sector, and but thank her for the 10 years of dedication and service to the Sheriff's Department. And then from there, I want to mention Lee Koth. Lee is part of our Civil Service Commission. Our Civil Service Commission is in charge of all of our hiring of deputies. So whenever we start a new deputy sheriff eligibility list, this commission, made up of 5 members, will put out the application process with Wood County Human Resources. All the applications will come in, they'll get screened, and then from there, the testing will occur, and then after that, they'll do interviews, and then they certify a deputy sheriff eligibility list. The whole point of the commission is to really take the sheriff out of it, where I can't go out, or any sheriff can't go out and say, I'm going to hire you, you, and you, or my brother-in-law, or my brother, or things like that. It's supposed to be an independent group that just kind of gives us a list that they certify and qualify people for us. And then we, by statute or ordinance, have to hire within the top 3 of the people that they give us for names. We've had the Civil Service Commission for a long time. Probably going back to the 80s, maybe even longer. But Lee's been a long-time member, and he's stepping away from the commission. He's going to move down by Madison, but he has been on for many years and was involved in hiring many deputies, including Chris that we just hired. So a big shout out to Lee, and thank you so much for your service. We're going to miss you, but I appreciate everything that you've done, and good luck with the move down to Madison. We've got some really good members on there. Retired Patrol Lieutenant Dave Loudy is currently on there. Another lieutenant also that is on there, Lee Garrels. And then Mike Myers oversees the commission. Randy Dohorst, who recently retired, was on the commission, but he picked up and moved out of Wood County. We're kind of mad at him right now. So we're gonna chat with him later. But since he, but good for him. He moved just into Juneau County and built a brand new home, and just is enjoying retirement, I think, too much.
I was going to say. I mean, wait a minute.
Chat with him, but he was part of the commission for a while, but he has to step aside since he's not going to be living within the county. So we'll be looking for new members, a couple of them, and again, the biggest thing I want to just mention, thank you, Lee, for all of you done for the Wood County Sheriff's Department, the hiring process of all of our new deputies.
I really appreciate certainly Lee and his service, and thank him for that. I appreciate you breaking this down for us and telling this. I don't know how common knowledge this is. I did not know how this was process work. That's really cool. I think that's a really unique and wonderful way to kind of do that. I also am curious of the kind of people that we're looking for to fill Lee's spot, and certainly I imagine that that's a broad kind of subject, but to people out there, looking to do good in their community or looking to give back.
Yeah, definitely. If there's some interest, let me know. We like the idea of some level of a law enforcement background because that's helpful for us. Not that that's a must, but it's really helpful. That's why you see, Lee Garrels on there. You see Dave Loudy on there.
Yeah.
Because they both were big parts of the sheriff's department, long, awesome careers with our department, and both of them were a big part of the hiring process. Once the eligibility list is completed by the Civil Service Commission and turned over to us, then they take it from there, doing the department interviews, the background checks, and all the other requirements that we have that the state makes us do. So they're very familiar with that, and that's helpful. But it's not a must to have law enforcement experience. But if it's something that somebody might be interested in, let me know, and we can go from there.
I've played a police officer and a deputy before, so that doesn't count. That's that you want somebody
It might.
actually.
It
I
might.
am a method actor. I did quite a bit of homework, but I get what you're going to.
Come in for an interview. We'll see what happens.
I'd actually do that just to do that with you.
Yes, you would. I think we'd both have fun.
Yeah. So when we're looking at that, though, too, I think that's a really good point. Understanding just simple things as the lingo and different things like that, I imagine, going to help in that position. Don't want to say that if you don't have that, you not to look into it, but encourage anybody who is curious to look into it. Could always use good hearts and minds. But I see where you're coming from with that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Lee Koth. Like I said, just a great person to have part of the commission, and we're going to miss him and wish him well as he makes his move down to Mass and closer to family.
Yeah, good for him. Good on him. He's earned it. It is really interesting to hear how this is done, though, and its counsel and that. I think, again, that this one of those things that, to me, that seems so encouraging.
It's similar to like a police and fire commission that, Wisconsin Rapids Police Department have, or Grand Rapids Police Department, where you have community members that come in that are part of that hiring process, which, that's a good opportunity for people to give back, to get the experience of what, law enforcement's all about, and have the ability to choose, the next people that are going to serve you.
We just got through Giving Tuesday, and one of the things we talked a lot about, and we talked about with the United Way and some others, is where everybody would like to give dollars and cents. Not everybody can do that, but you got time. Most people have some time that you can do some good with. So say that you want to take that and be like, well, I don't want to get into this. I want to give back by going into this. Is it a huge time commitment? Is it something like that? Because it seems like it's like a lot of board work where it's not. They don't even ask for that much time.
No, what usually happens, they'll meet it really depends. Maybe once a year, and then they'll decide whether or not they need to start a new deputy sheriff eligibility list. And once they do that, then they'll meet a little bit more, because then you have to, start doing some advertising. The nice thing is our human resources department handles a lot of that, as far as the advertisement, the recruitment, and then they can turn over the applications from there and determine who's qualified. And then from there, the commission determines who's going to test. So once they decide to start a new list, and they'll work with the sheriff's department, what will happen, and this will probably happen soon next year, that, hey, we've exhausted the current deputy sheriff eligibility list. All right, we'll meet, we'll discuss that, and then start laying out a timeline of when we're going to advertise, accept applications, and then the commission from there will start with the interviews. But so if we start a deputy sheriff eligibility list, they're going to meet several times during the year, probably 5-6 times to get that list, certified to turn over to us. So it depends, but it's not a huge commitment.
Yeah.
Usually they meet in evenings. Looking forward to moving forward with a new list next year.
If people do want to reach out and find out more about it, or throw the name into the ring, how would they get a hold of you? Okay, cool. Very good to hear.
Yeah.
So where do you want to go next? What do you got?
Next, we did a duty assignment. We talked about this on the radio before, but we were moving for a recreational patrol sergeant, where that duty assignment is going to oversee, all snowmobile patrol, boat patrol, and now UTV, ATV patrol. All right, with those three, specialties that the sheriff's department participates in, we felt it was very important to move forward with a position like that. And it's a duty assignment. And Sergeant Matt Souza has been selected for that position. He'll start at the beginning of the year. So we're looking forward to do that. And he'll be a liaison to all the snowmobile clubs within the county. We have several. And most importantly, too, the DNR. you know, work very close with them and then oversee all those patrols. So that'll start, you know, that's another thing with the snow on the ground. Hopefully we'll have a good season. I'm a snowmobiler, proud member of the Color Night Snowmobile Club, and hopefully by Christmas we have snow on the ground and we get a season. But he'll oversee that and work closely with all of our snowmobile clubs. The biggest thing and I always bring it up, our biggest concern or issue that we have with snowmobiling within our county, and this is not just exclusive to Wood County, it's throughout our entire state, is trespassing. When people go off the trail, they don't understand what they're jeopardizing. These are private property owners that give us the chance to, you know, have a trail on their property. And we lose so many miles of trail every year, and each club is responsible for that area, you know, and lots of times we've had people that just go off the trail. They just either they don't understand or don't care, and that jeopardizes that whole trail system. And I know within our club in the Color Knights, we've had several times we've had a property owner very upset with somebody going off trail, wrecking either crops or something on their property, and they said, no more, you're out. So then we have to find a reroute, and that's a pain. Yeah, you know, especially that you have such a gratitude for people, and we're so thankful that they'll give us an opportunity to use their private land to have a trail system, and people just don't sometimes understand that, and that's the biggest thing I can say. And if people go off trail and we catch you, you can guarantee you're getting a citation. Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's again for the better for everybody that you're getting that citation because we can't have this.
It's not a right to be on that property; it's a privilege.
Yeah. Coming back to that again, which is I don't know if we could say it enough. I'm a big fan of snowmobiling. I love snowmobiling. Yeah. I didn't find it until I didn't know I was going to love it until I moved out here and being on Lake Camelot. You're going to learn to snowmobile, and man, it's a lot of fun. But I remember being told from a young age, Jimmy, stay here, follow the paths. They're going to take you where you need to go. Don't go off the path. It was really like, it was pretty black and white for me, the way it was explained and everything. And maybe it's coming because I didn't grow up with it. I just kind of fell into the laws a lot easier. Yeah. So I want to, I always like to try to look at multiple sides of things. I got no multiple side for this one. I can't think of why you go off that trail and why for one, I mean, safety-wise, it's just not right. You don't know what's under that ground with certain spots of certain land, certainly. So there's that. Obviously, with ice and all that, you got to worry about that part of it, too. Yeah. But there are just a simple stick can throw off your gears and everything. So, I mean, there's a lot of that. But just as importantly, if not more importantly, what you said about people's land. Yeah. One of the greatest things you can have in your life is to own land, to be able to own your home, and then to offer that, to volunteer that up for people to, like, for a couple months a year drive over. I mean, if anybody out there is like my dad with his lawn, I mean, that's one of those cherished things. Right. There are days where I think he cares more about that than me. I'm pretty sure of that. And then people give that up, volunteer that. We got to respect that.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we can talk about our budget. Quentin, with his new position he's been in for, I think it's over a year now, but he replaced Chief Deputy Randy Doris, who retired, and Quentin did an outstanding thing by just being a sponge, by sitting down with Randy. That position, the Chief Deputy position, second in command of the Sheriff's Department, but not only that, our budget, putting together the budget and, putting together a solid budget. And you have to keep in mind, all right, you have this amount of money, but what's important in the community? Public safety. Yeah. And we have to, work that together because, you have taxpayers out there that don't want their taxes to go up. I mean, we're building a jail, that's happening, but we still have our own budget and our operation that we have to do. And so he did an outstanding job working with Randy, who was just awesome at working budgets, and the county board was very comfortable with Randy. They knew what they were going to get, and that was the first step. That once Quentin earned that promotion to Chief Deputy is just being that sponge and working with Randy and learning that. And he's done an outstanding job this year. We're going to be within budget, and even more importantly, he put together the 2022 budget. We did, but he's a big part of that, and our budget went down from compared to 2021 to 2022, it went down over 1%. That's a lot of money. 1% out of a multi-million-dollar budget. That's saving the taxpayers money that we all are
talking thousands of dollars.
And then he can talk a little bit more. Every year you have a capital improvement project. Each department within, Wood County has a capital improvement project. Like, what do you need? Most of the time for us, it's squad cars. We usually need about 4 to 6 of them a year. They're not cheap, and that's usually the thing that we go through. And this year, through looking at unanticipated revenues coming in, we were able to take care of our entire capital improvement project for next year. So, on top of our budget going down, and then taking care of our capital improvement project, we've gotten lots of really good feedback from our county board. So Quentin went above and beyond, taking on this position, which is a tough role, being second command of the department. Then coming through with what we did, really made our organization, our sheriff's department, look good.
Quentin, excellent work, man.
Thanks.
Especially first year in. That's really impressive. How have you felt it's been going?
It's been a tremendous challenge. When I signed up to be a cop 20-some years ago, I never thought I could come to work and need my calculator more than my firearm. But that's the reality of where we are now. And really, you hear in football that they're a system quarterback.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like right now.
Sure.
Randy Dorhorst and Shawn and our department as a whole have set up a great system in the direction that we want to go. And the budget is an important document. An instrument that drives that. You kind of say, you put your money where your mouth is, the direction we want to go, and with the programs we want to do and things like that. And I was fortunate to follow Randy Dorhorst. He did a great job setting up a budget, not only for that specific year, but for years to come. So time will tell. I don't know that I'm Aaron Rodgers following Brett Favre. I might be Jordan Love following Aaron Rodgers. We don't know here, but when you're following a great like Randy was and the work that he put in, you're just trying to live up to that. I appreciate the kind words, but it is a team effort. Our department is headed in the right direction, and it was kind of a perfect storm of sorts this year, and I've been the beneficiary. We've had some unanticipated revenues that we were able to sit down and say, how can we best use these to help not only our department but the county. So we were able to move those to purchasing our squad cars for next year, which saves the county some $300,000 in tax levy. Look at where our revenues come in, keep spending at a level that allows our department to operate efficiently and effectively as we want it to, but not with extra, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's a system that Randy has had going for the 10 years he was chief deputy. He's gained that trust of the county board and the community we serve. And I'm just trying to follow suit with that.
Well, many people remember that Favre's first throw was an interception, and he didn't start out as Brett Favre. Right. He started out as a gunslinger, that's for sure, but didn't start out with that brain. There's something to be said for taking up from somebody's mantle. I think that I can relate a little bit to that with the work that we're doing here and with Carl and that. And I agree with you. While you never can fill those shoes, there's an honor to be able to carry on that tradition, to be able to carry on that honor. And I got to say, I agree with the sheriff here. I mean, I think you're doing an excellent job, and appreciate the work that you're doing, because I think that this is another one of those things that gets kind of lost in the shuffle when we talk about our police and sheriff's departments, and that is budget. We don't think about money often. And right. I mean, because I think that people look at this, especially as departments, when I feel like they should be looking at it as safety, public safety. Right. If you tell somebody, departments wise, and it doesn't matter if it's a sheriff's department or what form of government, they start to question. They say, well, I don't want to pay taxes, what have you. You bring up safety immediately. Yeah, I'll pay for safety. Yeah, I'll pay taxes on safety, which is what we're talking about here. That's what it all comes down to. So I admire the work, and I can't imagine what goes into it, but appreciate that. And also, great line about the calculator and gun. That was a good line. I laughed over it. I wanted to make sure people heard that. That was hilarious. Yeah. We got about a minute left.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I think it's really important just to continue to talk about the jail. Moving forward, we're still in a design phase that's coming to conclusion. Things are coming together really well. With our architect and project manager and the City Council of Wisconsin Rapids. They approved vacating Avon Street for the project. We still got a couple of things to go and work with the city, but they've been outstanding to deal with. Appreciate that they're all part of our team. This is a huge team effort. It isn't just me. It's not Quentin. It's not our staff. It's not just the county board. It's a community team effort, and things have been going really well. We're hoping that the project will get out to bid maybe late January, early February. That's the goal, but things are really working together well. The appearance is going to look really nice. You got the courthouse, you're going to have the sheriff's department, and then the jail all together, and there's going to be an atrium connecting the jail to the courthouse. When people come in to the new security area, it's going to look a lot different, more open space where you'll come in, go through security our checkpoint. If you need to go to the sheriff's department, you'll go to the south. If you need to go in the courthouse, you'll go to the north, and it's going to look really nice. So I'm really proud of everybody that's part of that team effort. When you have a multi-million-dollar project, it's not just one individual that is, guiding the ship. It's many people, and I'm personally proud to be part of that. I know Quentin is, I know our team is. So just an update there. Things are moving well nicely.
Good to hear and appreciate that. Want to thank you both for the time. We ain't going to see you until the new year and probably at our new building. So nice. That's going to be fun. But do want to wish you guys, yours and yours, a happy holiday season and joy. Hope you guys get to spend a lot of time with your family. Be safe out there. We appreciate you so very, very much for what you guys do. And your staff. Say hi to everybody for us. Big shout out to Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Kevin, the gang over there. He will have to see me before the holidays, so I will say that to him later, and Joe and our friends over there. But thank you both very much for the time and the great conversation today. Side note, my dad very few times has been speechless. Every time I give him cards from you, he doesn't know what to say. So I thank you for that and for doing that. Appreciate you.
I enjoy doing it.
We'll catch up next month, guys.
Sounds good.
And we'll have more Morning Magazine for you tomorrow right here on AM 1320 WFHR.